So today I want to show you guys something called secondary dominant chords, which sounds pretty complicated, but I have tried to prepare this video as much as I do prepare videos to make it as practical and straightforward as possible. Now, what is a secondary dominant chord and why would you want to learn it? These are very helpful, especially if you're like a songwriter, but if you just want your chord progressions and jamming to sound more interesting, then they're going to be a very valuable tool to have in your tool belt. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So, if we had C, A minor, right, pretty standard kind of chord change. Heard this 1,000 times. Now, if I want to make that more interesting, I'm going to go C, then I'm going to add my secondary dominant, and then my A minor. So you can see that second chord I played has a real pull, and without even knowing, your instincts, they want to hear that chord resolve to that chord. Okay, if I just leave this, just keep playing it. See how much tension that's creating? Really wants to resolve to that. So, how can we use these secondary dominant chords? Well, what I've done is created a worksheet, PDF, that you can download for free. There'll be a link in the description of the video, or in the comment section actually. And I wrote this little chart where we have the target chords, and these are all just the letters of the alphabet, and a lot of these are kind of open chords that you can play. And these target chords can be major or minor, so it could be A or A minor, B or B minor, C or C minor. You get the idea. Then in front of it, I have a secondary dominant chord you can put in front of that target chord to create that effect that I just showed you before with the dominant secondary dominant chord. And below that, I also have a chord chart of how to play all these dominant 7 chords. If you already know your own voicings of dominant 7 chords and how to play them, you can use those, but if you don't know how, you can just use these ones. So let's take the very first one. So if my target chord is A, whether that's A or A minor, okay, A or A minor, I would put an E7 in front of that to target it. So E7, play it like this, then A minor. Or I could go E7, A. Right, either one of those is going to work. Okay, let's say I was targeting a B chord of some description. I would play a F sharp 7, then B. Or F sharp 7, B minor. Let's say I was targeting a C chord. Okay, there was a C chord in my chord progression, and I want to make it more interesting. I could play a G7. I actually hate playing G7 like that, to be honest. I'd prefer to do this, and then C, or C. Cool. Alright, if I'm targeting a D chord, I play an A7 in front of that. If I'm targeting an E chord, again, either E or E minor, I would play a B7. B7, E minor. Let's use that in context. Okay, let's say, again, I was going from C to E minor. C, E minor. This was my song. I could go C, B7, E minor to make it more interesting. Okay, it will really perk up the listener's ear, because if you've written some song where all the chords are just diatonic and belong to the same key, these secondary dominant chords are outside of the key, so you're doing what's called switching tone center for just like, key center just for a split second, and that you're introducing new notes into the harmony, and the listener's like, oh, you know, where'd that come from? Because again, if I was just sitting on C, E minor, it's not bad, but it's very predictable. But if all of a sudden I go, right, it's a bit more color in there. Next one, so if I'm targeting a F chord, I would want to put a C7 in front of there, which you can play like a C with your pinky down to F. Okay, so again, let's say I wrote a song where I was doing that. Actually, classic kind of blues thing. If I was going C to F, C, just normal C to normal F. But if I go C, then I go C7, right? Classic blues, right? C, C7, F, right? You've heard that before at some point in your life probably. Last one, so if I'm targeting a G chord, I would play a D7. You can play like this. Right, so let's say I was going from a C to a G. I could instead go C, D7, G. Right, so I mean, I don't really need to say a whole lot more, I feel. You know, it's pretty straightforward. If you have a chord progression, let's say you have, let's make a song right now. So let's take a real standard chord progression, like a 1, 5, 6, 4. Right, heard this a million times. 1, which would be C, G, A minor, F. Right, and this is our song. We're gonna make $1 million. It's gonna be awesome. 1, 5, 6, 4. But now to make it more interesting and reduce the total amount of income I earn from the song, because now it's too complicated for people to listen to, I'm going to add a secondary dominant in front of that A minor chord. So I'm going to play C, G, and then I'm going to add in an E7 to target my A minor. A minor, F. Now let's put this in context. So back with some rhythm. So C, G, E7, A, F, C, G, E7, F. Right? That wasn't the best example, but you get the idea. You get the idea of how these can make things a bit more colorful. So hopefully that's made sense and it's practical enough to put into use. And as well as that, before you go, I should mention I am teaching on Skype now, so if you do want to book a guitar lesson with me, there will be a link in the description for that as well, and there's a calendar you can use and book it in your time zone, which makes it less complicated, because here in New Zealand it's time zones get a bit wacky for to make the frick, you know what I'm saying, okay? It's in your time zone. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time.